If you've been struggling to get clients for your solo creator, coaching, consulting type business, I want to bet that it's probably not because you're not good at what you do, but that there's something else related to your offer, your positioning, or the ways that you're trying to attract clients that just isn't clicking. Now, I was never really good at math growing up, but one of the things that stuck out to me was PEMDAS. Remember PEMDAS? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. It's this order of operations when you're doing math that if you don't get it right, you're not going to get the outcome that you're looking to get. And I want to suggest that in growing your business, there's an order of operations. There is an order of doing things that help us get a successful outcome. And what I find is that sometimes we get so fixated on one thing that is important in the grand scheme of things, but not important if you're neglecting or forsaking the things that come before it. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about some of those things that's really important to do in sequence so that we can get that successful outcome that we're looking for, that we're getting new clients coming through, that we're building up our audience, we're building our business or brand, and especially to do it in such a way that you don't burn out if you're running your business solo. So I'm excited for this video today. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right. So when starting a business in this area, whether it's a creative business or becoming a coach or a consultant, we often are going to jump in headfirst and just try to find clients. And while that is really important, if we dive in headfirst and we don't ask some critical questions up front, then it can actually hinder the traction and growth that we get early on. So in this video, I'm going to talk through essentially 6 areas that I've found are really critical in doing in sequence to build a healthy coaching, consulting, or creative business. And the first area I want to talk about is having clarity around your positioning and creating a positioning statement that helps you understand internally what do you do and who you work with, and then can be translated externally to the world when you communicate who you work with and what you do. And so as Stephen Covey says, like beginning with the end in mind, it's really important to understand the who and what behind our work so that that can filter through the rest of our marketing. And so when thinking about who you work with and what you do for them, what most people tend to do is they understand generally what they do, and then they start looking at their competitors and seeing how do they talk about themselves, what services do they provide, and how do they communicate that online. And in doing that, they end up, I've heard it saying, swimming in a sea of sameness. It's, you end up looking like all of your competition, and because of that, when your ideal customer is looking to hire someone like you, they just kind of pull you in with a group of people like them that do things like that. And because you simply, spend too much time focusing on your competitors, you don't appear meaningfully different to anyone else that your ideal customer could potentially work with. So it's really important to think through your positioning and have clarity around the ideal client that you want to work with and the unique value that you offer to them so that that can filter through the rest of your marketing. Next, once we've had that figured out, we want to move to think about our messaging and how, if we understand who we want to work with and the unique value that we provide to those kind of people, well, how do we talk about that? And we craft messaging, the words that we use and how we convey emotion, no matter where it is, online, offline, in person. We want to have our messaging dialed in so that when we do have the opportunity to communicate with someone who could potentially hire us, we're doing so in a way that aligns with our brand, right? Is consistent and is dialed in with the customers that are looking for solutions that you provide. And so messaging is a critical part, and it leans into what is that unique thing that someone could buy from you, or the way of working with you that helps them get the outcomes they're looking for. Next, I like to talk about your brand and building out a brand that allows you to get the visibility that you're looking for and attracts the kind of customers that we talked about in your positioning. And so I love working with people in building out their brand identity, whether it be visually, whether it be verbally, whether it be any way that you engage with people. Your brand is how you are perceived in the eyes of your customer. So it's something that you can influence, but you can't necessarily own. So as thoughtful as you can be about helping craft a image of who you are and what you do in the eyes of your potential customers, then that works in your favor. And I love to emphasize the importance of making good first impressions, because a positive first impression with someone, it can be like euphoric. Like it's something that is really difficult to fade. If someone has a positive first impression with you, then they carry that with them for a long time. In reverse, if they have a negative first impression, it's really hard to redeem that first impression. So crafting out your brand and how you want to essentially show up for people is really, really critical in influencing the way that they perceive you, especially in relation to your competitors and other ways that people can get similar results, whether it be someone that's one-to-one, you're a designer and just hiring another designer, or if it's getting that kind of outcomes they're looking for, but maybe not through design, but through some other avenue, right? So it's really important that we craft your brand. So what I do with clients is I help us identify, well, what is our minimum viable brand? What is the minimum amount of things that we need to do and create to be perceived by our ideal audience that we talked about in the positioning? And your minimum viable brand, you don't necessarily have to be a designer. You don't need to be a copywriter. You don't need to be, a professional in these areas, or in some ways even hire a professional to craft a brand that works. And I love working with people to identify, well, how can we craft a minimum viable brand, especially as a soloist, in a way that early on can be an asset to your work. Next, I like to talk about your website and your online presence. Some people zoom into here, right? They like, day one, I'm ready to begin building out my business, I'm doing it, and they jump to the website. And frankly, the website is one of the most overwhelming parts of this. And I'm speaking of that myself as a web designer who's been building websites for close to 20 years now. Even if you feel very creatively or technically qualified to build out your website, when you're doing it for yourself, it can feel like an uphill battle. So it's important that we've done all of this work up until this point so that when we go to approach our website, which can often be kind of the crux of our online presence, that we are prepared with our positioning, our messaging, and our brand identity, so that we can go ahead and jump in prepared to build out a simple landing page that communicates clearly what we do and how we serve people. And so website, online presence, that can be one of the most overwhelming spots. And when I work with coaching through students in this regard, I love essentially making them aware of the tools that are at their disposal. Whether, if they can afford to go ahead and hire a designer or developer to do this for them, like amazing. But sometimes, even if you can do that, it's not in your best interest, because you want to be agile and nimble and be able to change as you react to how the market is handling in responding to the services in your marketing, right? So I really feel like it's important that you have a website that is in your control, that you can go ahead and make changes to, because likely this is something you're going to want to iterate on over time, right? So your website should be a simple way online that people can discover you. And you can use it as an asset when you're doing your cold outreach, you're emailing people, you're going to events, you're just giving business cards, whatever, that someone can, at any point, 24/7, can go ahead and jump on your website and figure out how to work with you, right? Crucial. But it's not the first thing we do on day one, but it's a critical part of your marketing mix. And then finally, once you have your website, the fact that everyone realizes once they launch a website is that doesn't do anything truly overnight. You need to use that now as a tool to leverage now that you have that website, right? So this goes into execution, into beginning to use that tool to help you scale your marketing and attract with the right customers. So essentially, once you have a website, you need to have a plan to how do I use that website now that I have it at my disposal? And often that is where people get stuck, where they said, well, I invested a bunch of money into this website. Why isn't it working? Why isn't it doing anything for me? People can become discouraged when they invest a significant portion of time, energy, often financial resources into a website, but they don't know how to use it to their benefit. And so in order to do that, you need to figure out, well, where do my people tend to hang out online? Or not neglect the fact that you need to I'm very anti-hustle, but to a degree, you need to go out and hustle in the sense of not just push publish and just wait for people to roll in, but to go out and meet people, to go out to events or conferences, host webinars, go on social media, go in Reddit or where people hang out, and then create organic ways to develop relationships, serve people, provide resources to those people that you serve, so that maybe they'll find their way on your website. And maybe the words on your website and the way that you position yourself on there, it's going to resonate, and it might cause them to want to potentially take a next step. So those are essentially the 6 areas that I talked through. And like I discussed in the beginning, I'm right now very time sensitive. I'm putting together a 6-week program. This is the first group, it's a beta test of no more than 8 to 10 people in a group, where we'll walk sequentially through these things. We'll together put together your positioning. You'll be able to hear how other people in the group are communicating about what they do and how they're crafting their positioning statement, and will help you do yours and be able to engage with others in that fashion. And once you've had your positioning statement, then you're able to craft messaging and a minimum viable brand around your work so that you can both visually and verbally find yourself compelling and stand out so that you can make a positive first impression in the eyes of your audience. And then, like I said, people get stuck at the website portion. And frankly, that's the part that is really difficult for me because there's often no shortcuts necessarily to like getting your website up. But there is, like I said, tools at your disposal and ways to approach this. So part of this program, you'll actually do a lot of the heavy lifting together with my support, with the support of a community, to craft your messaging while you're framing your website, put together the blueprint, if you will, come up with creative inspiration visually so that you essentially can compile a brand. And then we'll ship that off to a member of my team that will deliver your minimum viable website. One page. This isn't like a complex website redesign. This is a simple one-page website that can communicate what you do in the way that you've kind of crafted your messaging, and is something that's simple that you can get up. It can point people to a next step with working with you, to contact with you, potentially sign up for an email list or download a resource, and can be the front door for your business online. And the best part about it is it's in such a way that you can go ahead and begin to tweak it immediately. You can update your copy, add new images, build upon this as you go out and do marketing and sales to people that you're looking to work with. So if this is something that's interesting to you, there's a link in the description of this video. This is time sensitive, so if you're not watching this in March 2025, this might not be something you can jump into, but potentially, if this goes well, I'd love to continue to offer this over time. So if you're watching this weeks or years into the future, do check out the website below, because potentially there's a new cohort of students opening up, ready to accelerate their growth when it comes to starting or building out their business online. So hope this was valuable to you. If that's of interest, go ahead and click the link below. Otherwise, if you're new to the channel, I'd love to invite you to subscribe so you can be notified when new videos release, and there'll be a new video coming out real soon. So I'll see you there.